Hello again, everybody. This is Dr. Langlois, the Medical Director of the Pet Pantry of Lancaster County, as well as the current President of the Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association. And I'm sure by now you're wondering, why am I laying down huddled underneath this futon here? Well, two reasons, actually. One, on the wonderful salary of a shelter veterinarian, I try to find every little bit of spare change I can. But two, and more importantly, it has to do with the final aspect of tips that we are going to talk about for keeping your pet safe this holiday season. And if your pet is one that is fairly anxious, or really doesn't do well in social situations, is a very introverted pet, as we say, this may be the location they spend the entire holiday, and we want to help prevent that. So there are some pets, dogs and cats, and most of you will know, if you do have one, that just don't do well with a lot of activity going around. They are basically, like we said, much more introverted, would prefer to, be kind of by themselves, off by themselves, and we don't want to put them in situations where they're going to get very, very nervous and potentially cause some problems or things like that. So there's a couple of things you can do. The first is, if you do have a pet that is very, very anxious with any kind of changes, talk to your veterinarian about getting some potential sedatives or anti-anxieties that are short-acting, that'll just work for that day. The second thing we talk about really is just trying to remove the pet from the situation. I know everybody wants their pets to be a big part of the holiday, and especially parties and family gatherings and things, but while we may love it, it's really, really stressful on some of them. So if you know you have a dog or cat that is just really not going to adapt well, just remove them from the situation. Have them in their own room somewhere with a lot of toys, maybe a stuffed Kong, a couple of bones they really like to chew on, things like that, just to kind of keep them away from all of the hoopla that's going on. And that will actually be the best for them. Now, if you have a pet that kind of adapts after time, or once everybody's kind of in and settled down, does a little bit better, you can certainly introduce them at that point. But a lot of times it's the initial introduction when everybody's showing up, especially if there's young kids that they're not used to, things of that nature. Please be careful with that, because that is how bites happen. That is how animals end up injuring themselves or other people, and we really just don't want to see any of that. So, keep all of that stuff in mind. Again, if you have a very nervous animal, be careful around the door, especially with people coming in and out. You don't want pets darting out of the door, potentially into the road, getting hit by a car, injuring themselves in those ways. I did also mention children. It is very hard sometimes to keep children away from animals that may not like it, but you've really got to kind of lay the law down on this with potential kids that are coming in, or even adults too, who may not listen, that, your pet really does not like people coming at them to pet them or things like that. You have to kind of let the pet come to them. So make sure you really stress that, because that, again, is how bites happen, and then everybody goes blaming the animal when it's not really the animal's fault at all. So you want to keep kind of those things in mind. One other thing you certainly can look into is something called a thunder shirt, which is kind of like a stress-relieving tight wrap, that shirt type of thing that goes on dogs, and they do make them for cats. Sometimes that does help with anxiety. There are pheromone appeasing things out there, such as Fellaway or Adaptil. Those are the two big ones for cats and dogs, respectively. So that certainly is something that potentially you want to look into as well. But really, we just want to make sure that you talk to your veterinarian about the best way to keep your pets safe and happy this holiday, and stress-free as well. So if that is basically your goal, follow all of these tips, and you and your pet will have a wonderful holiday season. I'm stuck, so I'm probably going to be spending my holidays here, but I do want to wish all of you a happy and healthy holiday season. This is Dr. Brian Langlois of the Pet Pantry of Lancaster County and the Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association. We will see you next time, and it may be from this exact location, but I did find a cool quarter.
For all these tips and further tips on how to keep your pets happy and healthy during this holiday season, be sure to check out the Pennsylvania Veterinary Medical Association at pavma.org and talk to the most trusted source for all information regarding your pet's health, your local veterinarian.